Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about Neptune. I always like talking about Neptune because this planet has huge repercussions in our lives. It cannot be denied what Neptune is all about. So before I start, I do want to make a reference that most of this does come from my book I wrote on Neptune. I wrote 3 books on the outer planets, on Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, all separate books. And what I have discovered is when you have planets, personal planets, tightly conjunct these outer planets, it has an amazing repercussion on your life. And actually, I have found that after you're dead and gone, you will be remembered. Let's just hope it's for something wonderful instead of something like scandals and deception. Because Neptune, as I say, is the planet of secrets, illusions, and scandals. It really is. So I want to talk about this planet and what's coming up also in the world and how it's going to have its effects on what's going on today and in future events. It is really going to be strongly aspected. But before I go on, let me remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter on my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And while you're there, notice my new spiritual jewelry. I have malas and all sorts of beautiful things to remind us of our spiritual mission here on Earth. Earrings as well. So one more thing, if you're interested in learning Vedic astrology, I have a new class starting up June 16th. Don't miss it. This is the University of Vedic Astrology.com. You'll love it. So check it out and let's continue on with the power of what Neptune's all about. Remember, I always say the outer planets are not used in Vedic astrology because they represent the collective unconscious. They affect us through our psychology and through our mind, subconsciously. They are our subconscious mind. And of course, our subconscious mind has an effect on everything and everyone, the mass consciousness. So Neptune, this particular month right now in May and in June, Neptune is squaring some very important planets. And as it does, it puts a big fog in people's minds. We can't see things clearly. We can't know things. Even though we think we do, what happens is once the aspect clears, is no more, all of a sudden we wake up and go, what in the hell was I thinking? It was all so clear, but you can't see it. I always say Neptune casts a spell on us because somehow we can't see certain things, especially in your love life in particular. Be very careful if you have Neptune transiting over a planet that rules your 7th house of marriage partners, or it is conjuncting a planet in the 7th house of marriage partners. Because once the transit wears off, so does your feelings for that person. And you're thinking, what was I thinking? The thing is, you can't see it with Neptune. Neptune is that deception, that illusion. And what I found is in major cases of major problems in people's lives, Neptune was relevant. Such as when Marilyn Monroe died, Neptune was aspecting her sun by a quincunx. Exactly. She could not see what she was doing. Either it was a drug overdose or yes, maybe she was murdered because Neptune rules scandals. So we'll never know is the issue with Neptune. Isn't that lovely? Neptune keeps us in the dark where we can't ever see it. It's really amazing how it works. Did you know when Neptune was discovered, Silent movies came out and photography came out. So what would they have in common? They're illusions, things that look real, but they're not. You know how you go to the movies and a matinee during the day? Well, of course, none of us have with the coronavirus, but remember those days, the distant past, you would go to a matinee in the middle of the day, it's pitch dark, you watch a movie, and then you walk back out and you go, where was I? Was I in another world when I went to the movies? You are. That's Neptune. Takes you out of this world. I always say Neptune and the 12th house, which is relative to Neptune, deals with, I say, the great escape. Because it is ways that we escape this world. Really, Neptune deals with that. Even sleep and dreams at night. Even death. Neptune has been relative in so many charts when there's death. And that's never spoken about, which is so interesting. But I found that to be true through all the chart readings that I've done through my life. So Neptune is just this amazing planet that also deals with our imagination and creativity. I've often said it's like the higher octave of Venus, which can be people with a really strong Neptune, can be musicians, can be actors, can be performers, entertainers, because it's this out of this world experience, really. That's what it is. But I noted in my study, even for those of you that might have remembered the story about Patty Hearst, she was under an enormous Neptune transit. And for those of you that don't know, Patty Hearst came from one of the richest families in the United States. I mean, she lived a life of, luxury. And she was away at college at some point, and she was kidnapped. And somehow they brainwashed her into believing all these bad things about her family and the wealth and how they were abusing the poor people. And they somehow gave her a gun and she helped rob a bank. Well, pictures were taken of her doing all of this crazy stuff. She was brainwashed. And she even said afterwards in the trial, they put her on trial and put her in jail. She was the victim and she was kidnapped. Put her in jail. She even said she was raped by the people that kidnapped her. And she went to court and the jury put her in jail. But guess what? She was under a heavy-duty Neptune. She couldn't see it. She was brainwashed. That's a Neptune characteristic, that a spell's been cast over you. Right? So Neptune is about these things. If you ever see somebody that goes through some amazing, horrible scandal or gets the wool pulled out of over their eyes, it's Neptune. You'll see a transit of Neptune on their personal planets. And the good news is when you can see when it's over. But the bad news is a Neptune transit lasts about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. So here's one thing you can think about. People that are born around March 10th through the 13th. Anyone born around that time has Neptune on their sun. And you better be careful. Be careful if someone comes to you and says, you can make $1 million and this is how it's done and all these crazy things. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. If you have Neptune transiting any personal planet, but I know that if you are born around March 10th, let's see, I'm going to say it's to the 15th. March 10th through the 15th, yes, because Neptune's going to go. It is around 26 degrees right now as I speak, which would be those born March 10th. They've already been through a lot of deceptive stuff in the past 1.5 years, but it's going to move away and it's going to move to those people's sun that are born March 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Neptune's coming to your sun. And especially, it's going to be a new experience for those born around the 13th and through the 15th, but especially I'd say the 14th of March. Look out in the next year and a half. Neptune will be on your sun. It could bring you incredible creativity, and maybe even something to do with camera, film, or videos you could be involved with, either in front of or behind a camera. Get ready, because Jupiter will actually conjunct your sun with Neptune around that time. So people born around March 13th, 14th, and 15th, you've got something to look forward to. I think it will be positive because Jupiter is there. But if you wanted to ever get into the movies, it's time. Now, another thing about Neptune is coming up in the world. This is what I'm going to be talking about. April of 2022, Neptune is going to converge with Jupiter, and it will be expansive, but the deception will be out there. But I believe there's something that's going to be exposed. Remember, Neptune deals with scandals, and it can deal with secrets. Jupiter coming together with Neptune will be an amazing secret that is exposed to the world. When does that happen? April 2022. Watch this. This will be astounding. And for the chart of the United States, it deals with media. Astounding. I often think may have to be where this big event with aliens finally is out in the open. The cat's out of the bag. What are we going to do with that information? Some people are going to freak out. Some people are going to be relieved because they knew it all along. So I just wanted to bring out the power and emphasis of Neptune, especially since it's coming together with Jupiter in April of 2022. Plus, it's in the same sign with Jupiter throughout this year. So we all feel it coming and we know it. And I think ultimately it's going to be an awakening and a healing. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, now remember, you can get my book, Neptune, Secrets, Illusions, and Scandals. Go to my website. It will connect you. Go to my website, go to books, and it'll connect you on how to purchase this book on Neptune and or many of my books that I have written, over 10 books. So go to my website, galacticcenter.org, and look at all the things I have for sale, and especially sign up for my university. Go to both websites, universityofvedicastrology.com and galacticcenter.org. Thank you.